In the crystalline observation chamber of the Galactic Science Council's most advanced research station, first observer Zell's tentacles ride in growing alarm, the quantum. Containment readings on her holographic displays were becoming increasingly unstable, pulsing an angry red that reflected off her iridescent scales status report. She demanded her translator converting her Subel chemical signatures into standard galactic common critical debt deterioration in sectors 7 through 13. Senior researcher Kex responded, his crystalline formed, flickering with anxiety. The quantum anomaly is growing at an exponential rate. Our containment systems are failing faster than the automatics can compensate. The Nexus research station hung in space like a delicate snowflakey, its crystalline spires housing the most advanced scientific minds in the Galaxifor. 3 cycles they had been studying and naturally occurring quantum anomaly, believing their superior technology made them immune to its chaotic effects. Now that same anomaly threatened to tear the station apart time until complete containment failure. Zyle asked, already knowing she wouldn't like the answer. 17 hours at current deterioration rates, Kex replied. But first observer, the rate keeps accelerating. Our models didn't account for this level of quantum instability. Zyle's scales shifted to a deep blue of concern. The station housed over 3,000 researchers and support staff from 27 different species. Their containment technology was supposed to be foolproof, their automated systems the pinnacle of galactic achievement, yet here they were, watching those same systems fail one by one. Send the emergency signal, she ordered. Priority 1 distress call to all nearby council vessels. The message went out, bouncing between quantum relay stations across the sector of space, but as the responses started coming in, Zyle felt her scales pale too. An almost translucent white, the nearest council rescue fleet is 3 days away. Communications Officer Vex announced, her crystalline form pulsing with distress. The 7th Scientific Squadron could arrive in just under 4 days. Everything else is too far. She stopped suddenly, her crystals flickering with surprise. First observer, I'm detecting a response from an unexpected vector. Show me, Zial commanded. The main holographic display shifted, showing a cluster of ships approaching from the direction of the Piraeus arm. They were unlike anything Zarl had ever seen in her centuries off service. Crude-looking vessels that seemed cobbled together from mismatched parts, their hulls bearing the Skarsef, what appeared to be numerous repairs. Classification? She asked, studying Thestrain's fleet there. Vex hesitated, running the scan again. Their human vessels, first observer civilian ships. Mostly, but they're broadcasting an emergency response signal. Humans, the galaxy's newest spacefaring species, barely a decade into their membership in the Galactic Council. Zyle had read reports about them, of course, of fascinating, primitive species that had somehow achieved faster than light traveled, despite still using combustion engines in some of their surface vehicles. They can't be serious. Kex Satis crystalline form, expressing disbelief. Through chaotic light patterns, those ships look like they're held together with prayer and good intentions. Our quantum containment systems are the most advanced in the galaxy. What could they possibly? He was interrupted by an incoming transmission. The holographic display shifted, showing a human female wearing what appeared to be a heavily modified environment suit. Her dark skin was marked with lines that Zyril Dezer had learned indicated age in humans, and her black hair was stirred with gray. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth's emergency response vessel Tsunami, she said, her voice calm and professional. The situation: we picked up your distress call and our approach in with a full rescue fleet, requesting permission to assist an immediate briefing on your situation. Zyel felt her scales shift through several colors of uncertainty. The human ships were clearly not military vessels. Most of them appeared to be converted cargo haulers and what her database identified as oil rig support ships. Whatever those were, but they were also the only help within range. Captain Chin, she began carefully, I appreciate your offer, but this is a highly sophisticated research station dealing with extremely dangerous quantum phenomena. Our containment tests are failing, and the technical expertise required first. Observer Chen interrupted politely but firmly. Before I took this command, I spent 30 years leading deep sea rescue operations on Earth's quantum physics. Might be new to USBIT dealing with containment Failures under impossible conditions, that's something humans have been doing. Since aboard we mastered electricity, the captain's image was replaced by a series of rapid-fire visuals, humans working in what appeared to be underwater structures, teams responding to something called a nuclear reactor breach and rescue operations. In environments that seem to defy survival, every ship in this fleet has a crew of experienced disaster response specialists. Chen continued as her image reappeared. We might not understand your quantum technology, but we understand crisis management, containment procedures, and most importantly, how to improvise. When high-tech solutions fail, another screen lit up, showing more human vessels dropping out of FTL. These ships were even stranger, massive floating platforms that Zell's database identified as converted deep-sea oil rigs modified for space travel. Those are our heavy response units, Chen explained, the Deepwater Horizon and Ocean Warrior. They're equipped with reinforced containment chambers, originally designated to handle underwater oil blowouts. We've modified them to handle spatial anomalies. Not as elegant as your quantum systems, but sometimes brute force and redundancy work better than elegance. Zyle found herself fascinated. Despoter. Concerned the human ships were ugly, yes, but there was something about their robust construction that spoke of hard-won experience. They moved with precision, thought Deli, their awkward appearance taking up formation around the station with practice ease. First observer Kex interrupted, urgently containment field 7 just collapsed, cascade failure, ESEC accelerating. Zyle made her decision. Their sophisticated technology was failing them. Perhaps it was time to try something different, something tested, not in computer simulations, but in a harsh reality of a young species fight to master their own world. Permission granted, Captain Chen, she said. Sending you our status data now, and thank you, save the thanks for. After we got Navarion to safety, Chen replied with what Zero recognized as a human smile. Sani. Actual out as the transmission ended, Zeal watched the human fleet begin their rescue operations. Their ships might be ugly, their methods unorthodox, but there was something gesturing about their confident approach to the crisis. Sometimes, she reflected, experience counted for more than technological sophistication. The humans were about to teach the galaxy a lesson about Thevalu, of getting your hands dirty in the name of saving lives. The Sani's bridge was a study in organized chaos. Holographic displays showed the quantum containment fields failing across the research station, but Captain Chen was focused on a much older piece of equipment, a weather depth gauge modified for spatial distortions, just like the Mariana Trench rescue, she muttered, watching the readings. Climb Rodriguez, what do your pressure mapping show? Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez, a veteran off deep sea salvage operations, manipulated a three-dimensional display of the station. The quantum disruption is creating pressure waves similar to what we saw during the Pacific Shelf inside in front. Cause same effect, we've got compression zones building up around the containment barriers. The alien station's crystalline architecture sparkled against the void of space, its elegant spires now showing visible distortions as the quantum anomaly strained against its failing containment around it. The human rescue fleet had taken up positions that would have seemed random to outside observers, but made perfect sense to anyone familiar with deep water rescue operations. Deepwater Horizon. Status report, Chen called out. In position, Captain, came the response from the massive converted oil recontainment. Chambers are prepped. We've modified the pressure locks based on the Challenger. Deep protocols, Chen allowed herself a grim smile. The aliens might not understand why humans had brought what they saw as primitive industrial equipment to a quantum physics crisis, but sometimes the old solutions were the best ones. First observer, Zhurul Chen, addressed the alien leader, whose holographic image showed scales shifting through various shades of anxiety. We're ready to begin implementation of our containment strategy. However, I need you to do something that might seem counterintuitive. What do you require, Captain? The alien's translator conveyed her uncertainty. Shut down your remaining quantum containment fields, the request caused an immediate stir among the alien researchers visible in the background. Their crystalline forms flickered with what Chen had learned to recognize as extreme agitation. Captain Kex interrupted his crystalline structure, practically strobing with distress. Those fields are the only thing holding the anomaly in check. If we deactivate Those fields are failing because they're trying to impose order. On Chaos, Chen explained, pulling up a simulation on her display, we learned this lesson the hard way in deep sea. Operation Somades trying to contain pressure makes it worse, you have to work with it. Redirect it, she gestured to where Thaw deep water. Horizon and Ocean Warrior had positioned themselves, those ships arend. As platforms, their pressure relief valves, we've modified their containment chambers to create a controlled channel for the quantum distortions, but your containment fields are fighting us, trying to started exploring our ocean depths. She watched understanding slowly spread across the alien leader features. The Galactic Council species had achieved space flight through careful, methodical advancement of their technology. Humans had done it differently. They'd learned to survive in every hostile environment that their world could throw at. Thempton, taken those hard-won lessons to the Star's chief Harrison Chen, called out, show them the containment. The main display lit up with a detailed simulation, showing how the human fleet would handle the quantum energy. The converted oil rigs would act as primary containment points, their reinforced chambers, designed to handle pressures that would crush most spacecraft the support vessels positioned in. A pattern developed for handling underwater avalanches would create a controlled flow path for the energy modifications to your ships. Kex observed his crystal structure, pulsing with what might have been reluctant admiration. They're based on deep ocean equipment. When you're 5 miles under the ocean, dealing with pressures that can crush titanium like paper, you learn to build things. Tough Harrison replied, we've been handling extreme containment situations since before we had computers to calculate the math for us. Sometimes the old ways work best. Chen watched the alien researchers studying the simulation, their initial skepticism giving way too cautious hope, as they recognized the underlying principles at work. It might not be elegant. It might not be high-tech, but it was based on centuries of human experience in handling the impossible time-toe containment failure, she asked. 14 minutes. Kex reported, his crystalline form steady, focused on the task at hand. First observer Chen said, turning back to Zarel, need your decision, we can do this. But only if you trust us. Only if you're willing to let go of the idea that more advanced technology is always the answer. Alien leader was silent for a long moment, her scales shifting through various colors as she processed the situation. Finally, they settled on a deep, determined blue. Deactivate the quantum content fields, she ordered Captain Chen. The station is in your hands. As Thelian technology powered down in a quantum anomaly began to surge free, Chen felt the familiar calm of a rescue operation settling over her. They were about to attempt something that had never been done before, using techniques developed for an entirely different environment, but that was what humans did best. They adapted, they improvised, and above all, they drew on their longest story of facing down the impossible to save lives. All ships common containment operations, she ordered. Let's show the galaxy how Earth handles accuracies. The quantum anomaly erupted like a underwater volcano, sending waves of distorted space-time crashing against the human fleet's formation inside the tsunami's command center. Captain Chen watched the energy readings spike across her displays, but her expression remained calm. She'd seen worse during the Pacific Ring of Fire incidents. Deepwater Horizon status of primary containment, she called out, eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of quantum energy that now resembled nothing so much as a deep-sea current. Holding steady, Captain Kamethi, response from Commander Jack Torres. Energy flow is following the predicted patterns. These old pressure chambers are reproving their worth again. Through the main viewport, Chen could see the massive inverted oil rigs. Containment systems at work. What had once held back the crushing pressures of the ocean depths now channeled quantum forces that the aliens' advanced technology couldn't contain. The reinforced chambers glowed with an eerie light as they absorbed and redirected the energy. Ocean Warrior port, Chen commanded, switching her attention to the second primary containment vessel. Secondary containmentable, replied Captain and Sarah Martinez. But we're seeing some unusual fluctuations in the eastern quadrant. Reminds me of those rogue waves we dealt with off the coast of Alaska. Chen, not adjumbering those missions' nature, had a way of teaching humans that no plan survived first contact with reality. Rodriguez analyzed those fluctuations. See, If we can adapt our Gulfstream protocols to handle them, Lieutenant. Rodriguez was already working her console, her fingers, dancing across cross controls that merged modern holographic interfaces with old-school depth gauge-tuned pressure monitors. Got it, Captain? The quantum energy is behaving like a thermocline layer? We're seeing distinct boundaries where the forces shift dramatically on the research station command. Deck First Observer Z-Radel watched in fascination as the human fleet adjusted. Their formation ships moved with practiced precision, taking up new positions that seemed to anticipate the anomaly's behavior. Incredible, Kex murmured, his crystalline form pulsing with academic interest. They're treating quantum forces like ocean currents. That's exactly what they are. Chen's voice came through the cum system. Energy is energy, whether it's water under pressure or space-time under strain. The principles of fluid dynamics still apply. You just have to adjust your scale. And expectations is sudden surging. The anomaly sent ripples of distorted space washing over the fleet. The alien observers tensed, but the human ships rode out the wave with practiced Izathia formation, flexing and adapting like seaweed in a tide, picking up secondary pressure buildups in sectors 3 and 7. Rodriguez reported the quantum energy is starting to cascade just like you predicted. Chen's expression tightened slightly. This was the critical moment he'd seen similar patterns in underwater rescues when multiple pressure points threaten to create a catastrophic chain reaction. Deploy the buffer ship's standard North Sea storm formation. A group of smaller vessels, converted deep-sea rescue craft Movidento, positioned their hulls. Were scared from countless missions in Earth's most dangerous waters, but they moved with precision. That spoke of crews who knew exactly what they were doing. Buff ships in position reported. Commander Wayfromd led vessel, beginning pressure redistribution. Sequence. The smaller ships activated modified versions of the same systems they'd once used to stabilize underwater structures. During storms, waves of counterpressure pulsed outward, creating safe channels for the quantum energy to flow through first. Observer Chen called out to Zero, "We're going to need access to your station's structural integrity field controls. We need to synchronize them with our containment efforts." The alien leader scales shifted through shades of uncertainty. "Captain, those controls are incredibly complex. Our engineers spend years learning too." "With respect, First Observer," Chen interrupted gently. "We don't need to understand the theory, we just need to know which way the current flows." Lieutenant Rodriguez here has been handling deep-sea structural integrity fields since before we had computers to calculate the math. Rodriguez didn't look up from her console as she added, "It's all about feeling the pressure points, understanding where the stress wants to go naturally. Fighting it never works. You have to guide it, work with it. Zeal made a decision transferring control to your station now as the structural integrity field controls appeared on Rodriguez's display. She began integrating them into the ment operation. With the same instinctive skill that had once saved underwater habitats from collapse, the quantum energies guided by human experience and alien technology working in concert began to flow more smooth, live round the containment network energy level. Stabilizing. Kex reported, his crystalline form glowing with what might have been excitement the containment pattern is holding, but Chen knew better than to celebrate too early. She'd seen too many rescue operations turn bad in their final moments. "Maintain formation," she ordered. "This isn't over yet. Nature's always got one more surprise up her sleeve." As if in response to her words, a new alert sounded across fleet. The quantum anomaly was changing, evolving in ways that even Thelian scientist models hadn't predicted. The human rescue fleet was about to face its greatest test and prove that sometimes the best solutions came not from advanced technology, but from generations of hard-won experience in facing down the impossible. The quantum anomaly's transformation sent shockwaves through the containment network. On the tsunami's bridge, alarms blared. Synergy patterns shifted in ways that defy both alien science and human experience. Captain Chen watched as the carefully orchestrated rescue operation began to unravel. Multiple containment breaches detected, Rodriguez reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. "The anomaly structure it's like nothing we've seen before. It's not just moving like a current anymore. It's starting to behave like a storm system." Through the viewport, Chen could see the quantum energy forming into spiral patterns that reminded her Of hurricane formations, the Deepwater Horizon and Ocean Warrior, their containment chambers already at capacity, struggled to maintain their hold on the forces they were channeling. Deep water horizon, reporting critical pressure levels, Commander. Torres called out, his voice tense. The containment chambers weren't designed for this kind of rickers of energy. Pattern, we're looking at potential structural failure in 15 minutes. On the research station, first observer, Zero Scales, had turned a pale, frightened white. This is impossible, she transmitted. The anomaly is creating feedback loops within itself. Our models never predicted this level of self-organization. Chen's mind raced, drawing on decades of experience. She'd seen something similar once during a rescue operation in the Arctic, when shifting ice flows had created unexpected pressure patterns that threatened to crush a research submarine. Rodriguez, she called out suddenly, bring up the data from the Nova Zemia incident. Her lieutenant's eyes lit up with understanding. A asterisk species pursued technological advancement through careful, methodical research. We develop solutions for specific problems, always building upon established theoretical frameworks. Buthoman's Kex continued, his crystals pulsing with revelation. You develop your technology by confronting natural disasters, by surviving in hostile environments, by facing challenges that couldn't wait for theoretical understanding. Rodriguez, who had joined them in the observation chamber, Lafayette should see some of our early deep-sea rescue equipment. Half of it was invented on the spot during actual emergencies. When you're 5 miles underwater and something goes
wrong,
you can't wait for peer-reviewed research stations. Displays shifted to show the human fleet's rescue operations from multiple angles. The aliens had recorded everything. Everything from the initial containment efforts to the final dispersal of the quantum storm. Watching Gate now, even Chen had to admit it looked impressive, the way that ships moved in coordinated patterns developed over centuries of ocean rescues. The seamless adaptation of deep-sea technology, space-based problems. We've received word from the Council. Zeal announced, her scales shifting to formal patterns. Establishing a new division within the Emergency Response Department. Focus on integrating human rescue techniques with our existing protocols. They want us to teach you. Chen asked it, surprised. They want us to learn from each other. Kex corrected, your methods may seem unorthodox to us, but they've proven something vital, that sometimes mess the oldest solutions born from direct experience rather than theoretical advancement are the most reliable. Alert sounded, and Rodriguez checked her modify console. Final structural integrity checks are complete, Captain. How the station is stable, and the anomalous remnants are continuing to dissipate, as predicted. Sean nodded, feeling the familiar satisfaction of a success rescue operation. It wasn't about the recognition or the acolytes, it was about saving lives, about proving the humanity's hard-won experience had valued in an age of advanced technology. There's an old saying among Earth's rescue workers, she said, turning to Zierland K. The sea is the best teacher. Everything we know about handling situations, about adapting and improvising, we learn from facing down the most powerful force on our planet, Tand. Now you've brought those lessons to the stars. Zial observed, her scales showing patterns of deep respect. We had, To Chen replied simply. Space is just another ocean, bigger, darker, but governed by the same fundamental truth we learned in Earth's waters. Respect the environment, understand its patterns, and never assume your technology makes you immune to its power. As if to emphasize her point, the tsunami's scared hull caught the light of a distant star, its battle-worn surface telling the story off countless rescue operations across 2 different mediums. Their supposedly primitive vessel now stood as a symbol of humanity's unique approach to crisis management, practical, adaptable, and born from generations of hard-won experience. Captain Zile said formally, the Council has one more request. They would like Earth's rescue fleets to establish permanent bases in key sectors. Strout governed space. Your perspective could prove invaluable in future crisis. Shared a knowing look with Rodriguez. They'd come to help with a single emergency and ended up changing how an entire galaxy thought about crisis response. Not bad for a bunch off converted deep-sea rescue workers. Tell the Council we accept, she replied, Butramine. Then we do things our way. Sometimes that means getting our hands dirty. Sometimes it means improvising solutions that Don't look pretty, but get the job done after what we've witnessed here, Keck said, his crystalline form glowing with certainty. I don't think anyone will question your methods again as. Chen looked out at her fleet, still maintaining their protective formation around the station. She smiled. Humanity had brought more than just ships and technology to the stars. They'd brought generations of experience in facing down impossible and finding ways to survive and save others when pure technology wasn't enough. The galaxy might have superior technology, but humans had something equally valuable: wisdom, earned through centuries of learning to survive Earth's harassed environments, and now those hard-won lessons would help protect life throughout the cosmos.